Happy Friday evening, November the 22nd, 2024. Hope you are doing well wherever you are in the world. It is Noirvember. It is the wonderful time of the year in the period that is the most wonderful time of the year. But in the month of November, we like to celebrate all things noir films. And that is the purpose of this stream tonight. I want to come on here and just share some thoughts on a couple of film noir titles that are near and dear to my heart. These are some titles that are so powerful, in this genre that is a very powerful genre, and that is the noir film style. Now, noir films have their own signature, distinctive style to them that make them special and unique. Hence the reason why we have Noirvember, a whole month dedicated to really putting a special focus and spotlight on this special genre of film. So tonight I want to talk about a couple of noir titles similar to what I've done over the last couple of years, where I'll focus on two titles in the noir space. One title being a classic noir title from, the 40s, 50s, what have you, many decades ago. And then also coupling that with a more modern, like neo-noir title. So we're doing that same theme tonight. We're going to focus on these two wonderful films right here. These two noir films. This is the classic title right here. This is the film directed by Nicholas Ray called In a Lonely Place, starring Mr. Humphrey Bogart and Gloria Grahame here. But Mr. Bogart is pictured here on the front. And then we're going to talk about Nightcrawler. This is a film from 2014. So you have 1950 and 2014. You have a classic title and a neo-noir title. This is the 2014 film that stars Jake Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo, directed by Dan Gilroy. So these are two films that are 64 years apart, but there is some connecting tissue between those films that we'll talk about. And they're two absolute knockout titles that if you haven't watched them, you definitely need to check them out. So on the other side of this, we're going to get into these noir films. We're going to talk about the Criterion Collection sale. We're going to talk about some Criterion Collection recommendations. I'm going to share the recent titles that I've been picking up in the world of physical media. A lot of great stuff happening as this year winds down here. We got about 5 to 6 weeks left in the year, but there's some excitement in the world of physical media, and I want to talk about it along with all things film noir. So on the other side of this, we'll get into it, and I want to hear in the comment section what you think about these noir films we're going to talk about tonight, and what some of your favorite films are in this space. So let's get into it. Noirvember 2024 rolls on. It is Friday, November the 22nd. Let me see who is out there and let's see what they have to say. So we have Jimmy saying, nice. In a Lonely Place is one of my all-time favorites. In a Lonely Place is an absolutely extraordinary noir film. And there is one word that I will use to describe it that I'll get into in a few minutes. But it is a very powerful, powerful film noir. It is quintessential noir, classic noir. Glad you're here, Jimmy. Adrian James, always great to see you from across the pond, sir. Hello there to you. I know it is very early in the wee hours of the morning there in the UK. So glad that you're able to join us, Adrian. From across the pond, we have Archie Cinema saying, hello, James. Hello to you as well, Archie. And Mr. Gerald Lang saying, hey, James, started watching the Ida Lupino features on the Criterion channel this week. Watched the first one with Ida and Humphrey Bogart from 41. Yeah, Ida Lupino and Humphrey Bogart star in a film that is from 1939 from Raoul Walsh. And the name High Sierra, I think it's High Sierra. Yeah, I had to think about it. That's in the Criterion Collection, and it's a very, very high recommendation. That title not only features High Sierra, but you also get a bonus film in there called Colorado Territory. So it's always nice to get a bonus feature that is a whole entire separate feature film as part of a supplement in a release. So that's one I highly recommend, High Sierra in the Criterion Collection. But yeah, we're going to talk about these two noir films tonight, and I'm really excited about it because these are two films that I think belong in everyone's library. If you have a love and an appreciation for noir films, these are two films you ought to definitely consider adding to your catalog. So we're going to get into it. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about some of the physical media that I have been getting recently, including this week, the Criterion Collection released this 4K title, Funny Girl, that stars Barbara Streisand. This is a film directed by William Wyler. It is from 1968. And so this is a title, this actually is 155 minutes. This is a title that I plan to do a review on this channel in the next few days. So look for this Thanksgiving week. So I'm really looking forward to diving into this and sharing thoughts on this 4K title. I enjoy musicals, and that is one starring Miss Barbara Streisand. I think it is her breakout role. So really looking forward to checking out Funny Girl. Alfred Hitchcock's my favorite director, so getting this steelbook of North by Northwest was a gift this week. Very excited about that and excited to just dive into that. My favorite Clint Eastwood film, Play Misty for Me, got a 4K release, and I'm super excited to have this upgrade of my existing Blu-ray. This is my favorite Clint Eastwood film right here. Love this film, Play Misty for Me from 1971. It's his directorial debut. And of course, the Criterion Collection recently released a 4K upgrade of this second Seven Samurai Blu-ray, but I elected to get the BFI 4K of Seven Samurai that just came today, just came in the mail today from our friends at the United States Postal Service. So just got this today. So now I feel a complete edition for Seven Samurai between my Criterion Blu-ray and its special features and the BFI with on 4K with Dolby Vision and the extra commentary and the special features on here, which I think is largely ported or largely the same features that are on this Criterion. But happy to have Seven Samurai, one of the all-time classic films from Akira Kurosawa on 4K Ultra HD. I had a chance to look at a few minutes of it earlier today. Looking really fine, looking mighty fine on 4K with Dolby Vision. So let's see what other comments you have, and then we're going to go ahead and get into these special features. We're going to just dive into it, not special features, into these noir titles. So Gerald says, you're right, High Sierra, couldn't recall title after a long workday. Yeah, it took me a second there to remember the title High Sierra, but yeah. Just got done rewatching The Big Sleep. Nice, sweet. And see, Gerald says, picked up Funny Girl and the Underground Railroad as part of B&N so far, Double Indemnity, and the others are next by end of sale. Yes, I highly recommend Double Indemnity 4K and the others on 4K. Those are two excellent releases by Criterion. I mean, fantastic. Double Indemnity is one of the all-time great film noirs. The others is a really nice horror, really ghost story starring Nicole Kidman. Chef's Kiss, wonderful, wonderful disc. Both of those are great additions to anyone's collection. Gerald Lang, is BFI 7 Samurai only 4K and no Blu-ray? Yeah, you only get one disc, the 4K disc. So, well, no, I'm sorry, excuse me. I stand corrected. You get a 4K disc with the movie and you get a Blu-ray, Region B Blu-ray with special features. I don't have a region-free player yet, so I'm not able to play the Blu-ray that's included, but I got this set because of the 4K with Dolby Vision, and that additional commentary is on that 4K disc. So basically everything that I wanted from that set, I have, as well as, of course, the nice poster, which I might show at the end of this. But yeah, the nice poster and the book that is included. So it's a sweet looking edition that I'm looking forward to sharing thoughts on very, very soon. So yeah, so let's talk about film noir. Film noir is a cinematic style. It's a unique cinematic style and storytelling approach that emerged really in the 1940s and 1950s, and it's very atmospheric. You have very interesting, deeply complex characters that are morally ambiguous. You have, themes of cynicism, crime, and despair, really existential despair. This sense of unease that seems to permeate a lot of these films. Is sort of a combination of hard-boiled detective fiction and German expressionism in this wonderful mishmash that has become what we know as film noir that started in the 1940s and 1950s. So they explore really the darker side of human nature and just characters that are very complex, characters that you can both hate and love, and characters that you're not altogether sure what their motivations are or what they are fully capable of, or what they may have done in their past and what they could do in their future. So a lot of intrigue and unease in these wonderfully atmospheric films. So let me show you a few examples, and then we'll get into these two films here. These are a number of film noir examples that I recommend that you check out. If maybe you're new to film noir, you haven't seen a lot of noir titles, and you're wondering, what is this whole noir or Noirvember about? What are these noir films about? I've never seen a noir film. What is that all about? These are some titles that I recommend you check out. Starting with this all-time classic that came out the same year as In a Lonely Place, 1950. This is Sunset Boulevard. This is one of the all-time classic film noir titles. This is the film that stars William Holden, Gloria Swanson, and Erich von Stroheim, and it is an all-time classic. It's a Hollywood story. It's about a woman that was a silent film star who basically, is no longer at the top of stardom. She's no longer an A-list actor because, of course, now they're making talkie films, and she wasn't really able to transition to that very well. So she's trying to, get her career back and really get back on top. And it really deals with the frustrations that actors encounter in Hollywood and really the whole movie making process. I love films that are about making movies, but this movie is not so much, it's not all about showing you how movies are made, but it's really dealing with this character here that played by Gloria Swanson so beautifully. And of course, you have the famous note here. All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. Speaking to Cecil D. DeMille who appears in this film. This is a brilliant film. This is an all-time classic, 1950, and I do have a prediction for 2025. 2025 will mark the 75th anniversary of this film, and I am predicting that we will get a 4K Ultra HD release of Sunset Boulevard from somebody in 2025. It would be great if it was the Criterion Collection. But yes, Sunset Boulevard is highly recommended film noir for anyone interested in exploring the genre. Another title is from one of my all-time favorite filmmakers. I love Orson Welles, folks. And this is Touch of Evil, baby. Touch of Evil, starring Orson Welles. You have Charlton Heston in here, and you have Janet Leigh in here. This is, I believe, a couple of years before Janet Leigh starred in Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. This is Touch of Evil, and this is a fantastic film noir that I highly recommend checking out. Of course, my all-time favorite noir film, and one of the best films of all time from director Billy Wilder, is Double Indemnity. This is the Criterion 4K right here that I highly recommend. And this was my previous Blu-ray edition here. But yeah, Double Indemnity is one of the all-time great classic noir films. It's from 1944. It's considered the granddaddy of film noir. And if you haven't seen Double Indemnity, I'm just telling you right now, it is absolutely highly recommended. Some of the best writing and dialogue you will see in any film ever. One of the greatest films of all time. Fred McMurray, Barbara Stanwyck, and Edward G. Robinson really deliver in this all-time classic. Great, great fiction. Gene Tierney and Dana Andrews in Laura. Another fantastic classic noir title right here. Highly recommended. And then lastly, another film starring Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart stars in A Lonely Place that we will get into in just a moment, but he also starred in this amazing film 9 years earlier called The Maltese Falcon from 1941. So this recently got a 4K Ultra HD release just over a year and a half ago. And this is an amazing film. I saw this film for the first time when this came out last year. Interestingly enough, this was waiting for me when I got back from with my family from San Francisco, when I had just walked the Golden Gate Bridge like 24 hours before. I popped this in the player, and the first scene that pops up is Humphrey Bogart sitting in his office in his chair, and in the backdrop is, at that time, the newly built Golden Gate Bridge that was only like 2 years old at that time, back in 1941. And I thought to myself, my feet was on that bridge less than 24 hours ago. And now I just pop in this movie and had no idea that this opened up with the Golden Gate Bridge. But anyway, you didn't want to hear all that. But this is The Maltese Falcon, an amazing film starring Humphrey Bogart. So those are some noir titles that I highly recommend. And I want to hear in the comments section, what noir titles would you recommend? And what do you think about these noir titles that I just mentioned? Now, let me capture some more comments, and then we'll get into In a Lonely Place and Nightcrawler. So let's see what else y'all are saying out here. Let's see. Christian Bravo says, James, have you ever seen the 1959 film noir Odds Against Tomorrow starring Harry Belafonte and Robert Ryan? I have not. I did not know that. Okay, that intrigues me. I like Harry Belafonte, so yep. I'm not familiar with Robert Ryan, and I am not familiar with this film. So Christian's saying it's fantastic and has an interesting commentary on race, the first to include a Black lead. Awesome. I'm definitely down for that. I am down for that for sure. Harry Belafonte stars with Sidney Poitier in a Western title that's in the collection, Buck and the Preacher. That's also a recommendation as well. But I did not know that he starred in this film, Odds Against Tomorrow. So yeah, Buck and the Preacher's in the Criterion collection. That is highly recommended. More for the supplements than even the movie itself. The movie itself is pretty good, but the supplements really give you a lot of insight into Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte on so many different areas in terms of their creative process, in terms of the challenges that they encountered coming up in the Hollywood system as Black actors back in the 1950s and 1960s. They really do a great job of sort of fleshing out their story in those supplements. So I thought that was awesome in Buck and the Preacher. So Christopher says, new subscriber, great content. Thank you, Christopher, and welcome to this great community of film lovers here on YouTube. What is your opinion of Pickup on South Street and the original Nightmare Alley in terms of film noir? Pickup on South Street is wonderful. Pickup on South Street is a wonderful film all the way around. I would say that Thelma Ritter really steals the show for me in that she plays Mo in the film. She is a big time supporting character in that film. Thelma Ritter also plays in Rear Window, the Alfred Hitchcock film that stars James Stewart. So she really, really is a big part of that film, Pickup on South Street. And that's another great recommendation from, in terms of Criterion Collection releases. It stars Richard Widmark, and I forget the other co-star's name, but that's a really good film that I highly recommend in the noir space. So yeah, Pickup on South Street is a good one. I've seen Nightmare Alley, Tyrone Power. That is a very good one as well. So those are two great recommendations. I have not seen Guillermo del Toro's remake of Nightmare Alley yet. I think that stars Bradley Cooper, but I have not ever seen that yet. I've heard kind of mixed things about it, but let me know in the comments if y'all have seen it and what y'all think of it. Got some spearmint tea here. It's delicious. Just the right amount of sugar and cream in it. Yeah, I love it. James, I'm itching for Sunset Boulevard to be released on 4K. Yeah, me too. I think I've already predicted that it's going to come out on 4K next year. It makes total sense. It'll be the 75th anniversary. And if it is a Criterion Collection release, similar to when Criterion released Double Indemnity a couple of years ago and their upcoming release of No Country for Old Men. I think that a release of Sunset Boulevard on 4K will be like the standout release of the year from that label, or really whatever label releases it. That is one of the all-time great films, and it deserves a 4K, and not just a 4K, but a definitive edition for that landmark title. And I would love for it to be Criterion to get it. Hope Criterion or Kino Lorber listening first day buy. Yeah, I hope it's Criterion, and I hope they do a nice digipack for it and really put some nice special features in it. Now, the current Blu-ray has like over 2.5 hours of bonus content. So if they ported all that over and then maybe added a couple of, extra things, maybe a visual essay, a couple of more interviews, just, sprinkle a little bit more on top. Give us, 4K, Dolby Vision, give us the works, and I think that would make for a great package. Pickup on South Street is awesome, very Hitchcockian, and Richard Widmark rocks. Absolutely, he is fantastic in it. Again, Thelma Ritter as Mo is, I think she is the heartbeat of the film. She is tremendous in that film, and she's also good in Rear Window with James Stewart. So yeah, I love her. She's a fantastic supporting actress. Kino put out Odds Against Tomorrow. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I've never heard of Odds Against Tomorrow. Never heard of it. Hey, James, you should check out Kiss Me Deadly from 1955. Amazing film noir. I believe I have that. That's in the Criterion collection. And I saw that a number of years ago when I picked it up. I have not revisited it, but I need to check it out. But that is a good one as well, for sure. See, Gerald said, you convinced me to go online to pick up Double Indemnity after the stream for in-store pickup after work tomorrow. Yeah, let us know what you think about it. Again, Double Indemnity is the granddaddy of film noir. It is wonderful. It's just a wonderful film for Billy Wilder. Billy Wilder is one of the all-time great directors. His writing is legendary, and that is on full display in Double Indemnity. It is very well done. And the leads, Fred McMurray is great as the insurance agent, Walter Neff. He is just fantastic. You have Barbara Stanwyck, who plays the wife of this man that we never see. And, she is wonderful. She is ice cold and just brilliant. And then Edward G. Robinson. I mean, he is so on point as the other insurance man and sort of the mentor of Walter Neff. And he's smart, he's witty, and he is just brilliant in his role. I mean, they're all fantastic. See here, Anthony says there's a very good box set of Japanese noir called Nikatsu Noir I would recommend. Killer titles like A Cult Is My Passport and Take Aim at the Policeman. Okay. Thank you for that recommendation. I am not familiar with that, but thank you for that recommendation on Nikatsu Noir. Let's see. Odds Against Tomorrow is great. If you like Robert Ryan, also check out The Setup. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Robert Ryan. Again, I enjoy. This is part of the reason why I enjoy doing this channel is because of things like this. I've never heard of Robert Ryan. I've never heard of Odds Against Tomorrow, but I'm intrigued to check him out. And oftentimes when I do, I'm always or usually very happy with the recommendations that y'all give me. So definitely keep them coming. And it's not only recommendations to me, but others on here who also may not have seen these films. So yeah, thanks. Odds Against Tomorrow is definitely going to be on my list to check out. All right. Let us get into these wonderful films here, shall we? Let us waste not one more second, not one more minute talking about anything else. Let us get into In a Lonely Place and Nightcrawler. Let us proceed. I've got a PowerPoint presentation here to share, and hopefully with Google Chrome, it will allow me to do it seamlessly. So let's go. Let's do this. Boom. All right. And I will play from the start. All right. So we are talking about In a Lonely Place and Nightcrawler. These are two incredible films that I highly recommend. I recently rewatched In a Lonely Place. And going back to what I was about to say earlier, the one word that I would use to describe In a Lonely Place is devastating. This film is absolutely devastating. It is a commentary on violence can cost you everything. And the ability to control oneself, to control one's temper, to have self control is one of the most important virtues that one can have. Because if you lose self control, if you don't control yourself, you can lose everything. And no film exemplifies that better than In a Lonely Place, starring Humphrey Bogart and Gloria Grahame, directed by Nicholas Ray. Nightcrawler is an incredible film set in Los Angeles in modern day. Kind of has like a GTA 5 vibe to it. And it deals with this man who is a bit unhinged, very intelligent, willing to do whatever it takes to get what he wants, and doesn't really matter who he hurts along the way. He is very dangerous, but yet cool. He's mysterious. Jake Gyllenhaal is absolutely brilliant in this character that he plays in this film, Lewis Bloom, basically taking his camera, getting footage of things going on in the city, and selling that footage to newsrooms for money. And his character is very deep and very complex and layered, and it is modern neo-noir at its best. But yeah, we're talking about In a Lonely Place and Nightcrawler as part of this November Noir stream for 2024. So let's talk again about what is film noir and neo-noir. So you hear these terms, film noir, noir, it's Noirvember. But if someone were to stop you on the street and ask you, what is noir, what would you say? Well, you see here, Merriam-Webster has come to the rescue here. And she's saying, film noir, it's a type of crime film featuring cynical, malevolent characters in a sleazy setting and an ominous atmosphere that is conveyed by shadowy photography and foreboding background music. Okay. Also, a film of this type. So that's a little bit of a definition of film noir. But then you'll hear a term that references like more modern noir films, like neo-noir. And that deals with a genre of films that use the visual style and themes of classic film noir, basically dark film. That's French for like dark film, but add a modern sensibility. So you see here a picture from No Country for Old Men getting a 4K release from the Criterion Collection in a few weeks in December, and I will be picking it up, even though I'm not getting it 50% off. I don't care. I will be picking it up on day one, and I'm excited about it. So I already have my Amazon order in for it, and it is going to be, I think I do. It's going to be hitting my doorstep in just a few weeks. But yeah, they also usually contain more graphic depictions of violence and sexuality. So yeah, neo-noir films are more modern noir films. They're a modern take on the noir genre. And films like No Country for Old Men kind of fit into that. But Nightcrawler does as well. And that's the film that we're talking about on this evening. So, In a Lonely Place is spine number 810 in the Criterion Collection. And this is a film that's directed by Nicholas Ray, director Nicholas Ray here that you see. I'm going to hide this. Director Nicholas Ray that you see here. I will stop sharing and I will reshare because I'm not sure what happened there. Let me share it again. So this is Nicholas Ray. I'm going to actually move this up here so it's out of the way. Is pictured there in the second picture. And then you have Gloria Grahame as Laurel Gray and Humphrey Bogart as Dixon Steele. These are the two main characters in A Lonely Place. They are basically lovers, and they are in a very complex relationship. You see, Humphrey Bogart is playing Dixon Steele. He is a screenwriter in LA who is in between projects trying to, work through getting back to where he once was in his game as a screenwriter, and somehow he gets mixed up in being suspected of a murder. Laurel Gray, played by Gloria Grahame, helps to sort of provide an alibi for him because she lives in the same apartment complex, and they become lovers. And they become lovers in a pretty complex relationship. Of course, Dixon Steele is a screenwriter, but he also has a reputation for violence and lacking self-control. And that becomes a pretty big theme in this movie, In a Lonely Place. This film is, as I said, devastating. And it is, I don't want to say a whole lot more than that. I will read the back of the Criterion case, but this is a special film that I recommend anyone to see because it is very powerful in the message that it conveys. It's a very powerful film noir title, one of the most powerful film noirs that I've ever seen. And I think it deserves all the acclaim that it receives. But let me read the back of the Criterion case. In a Lonely Place, a gifted but washed up screenwriter with a hair-triggered temper, Humphrey Bogart, in a revelatory, vulnerable performance. This is arguably his best performance. And I'm comparing that to Maltese Falcon. I'm comparing that to Casablanca. I'm comparing that to The Desperate Hours, all the wonderful films that Humphrey Bogart has been in, High Sierra, you name it. In a Lonely Place might be Humphrey Bogart's greatest performance. Becomes a prime suspect in a brutal Tinseltown murder. The only person who can supply an alibi for him is a seductive neighbor with her own troubled past, Gloria Grahame. The emotionally charged In a Lonely Place, freely adapted from a Dorothy B. Hughes thriller, is a brilliant, turbulent mix of suspenseful noir and devastating melodrama fueled by powerhouse performances. An uncompromising tale of two people, desperate to love yet struggling with their own demons and each other's. This is one of the greatest films of the 1950s and a benchmark in the career of the classic Hollywood auteur, Nicholas Ray, that you see pictured here. Yeah, this is a very powerful film, folks. I highly recommend this in the current Barnes & Noble sale. It is spine 810. It comes in at 93 minutes, and it's a film from 1950, and it's one of the all-time classic noir films. And picking it up at 50% off is an absolute no-brainer. I highly recommend In a Lonely Place. Humphrey Bogart is brilliant in this. Gloria Grahame is brilliant in this. The supporting characters are very strong in terms of the guys from the police department, one of whom is an old friend of Humphrey Bogart's character, Dixon Steele, from an old military army unit that they were in together. Now that man is a detective and Humphrey Bogart's a screenwriter. And so you have that relationship. Then you have other people in Hollywood. This is similar to Sunset Boulevard. This is a film that gives you a glimpse into the Hollywood system from the standpoint of screenwriters and people who are in that vein, their agents who work with them. And it's just another peek at how movies are made and the various processes that make the movie machine in Hollywood go, and some of the relationships that are involved in that and some of the politics involved with it, and just how that whole system works. Hollywood is a very interesting animal, and seeing it from different perspectives is really interesting. And this film gives you that perspective, again, from the perspective of a screenwriter, Dixon Steele, in a Lonely Place. So yeah, so you have the Bogart suspense picture with the surprise finish, Humphrey Bogart in a Lonely Place, starring Gloria Grahame. Gloria Grahame is so wonderful. She is as great as Humphrey Bogart is in this film. He's accused of this crime, and she is in love with him, and she doesn't believe he did it. But then over time, she becomes Unsure. Could he have done it? Maybe he did do it. I don't know. I'm unsure. That makes me uneasy. She's dealing with that complexity. He's dealing with the demons of his violence and inability to control himself. It is a very powerful film, and I just simply cannot say enough good things about it. This is a trailer that we're going to watch, and to give you a little bit of a flavor of this film. So let's go ahead and roll them.
Did you see Mr. Steele last night?
Yes, as I came home, I saw him going to his apartment with a girl.
That girl was murdered between 1 and 2 o'clock this morning.
I had merely one till you. I was a lonely one till you.
What's he doing here?
With or without his wife, or tailing me. I've been looking for someone for a long time. I didn't know her name or where she lived. I'd never seen her before. When a girl was killed, and because of that, I found what I was looking for. First, you have to have enough imagination to visualize the crime. You're driving up the canyon. Put your right arm around her neck. Now you get to a lonely place in the road, and you begin to squeeze. You're an ex-GI, you know judo, you know how to kill a person. Go ahead, brother. Squeeze harder.
You know Dix didn't do it. You saw him after the girl left. But Lochner has a different idea. He believes Dix could have done it. I left his office feeling as though he were trying to warn me. I came here because I wanted to say these things out loud and be laughed at. But you're not laughing.
Let me in.
So that is the trailer there. You know, these trailers sometimes give away a little bit too much of the movie. So I wanted to sort of cut it off there, but just to give you a little bit of flavor of this film, this is an amazing film noir that I highly recommend checking out. I'm going to pop out here and just see what comments you all have and just hear what you're saying out here. Let's see. What do we have here? What are y'all saying? Let's see. Odds Against Tomorrow is great if you like Robert Ryan. I'll check out the setup. Okay, I will certainly do that. Look into it. James, have you seen Nicholas Ray noir masterpiece They Live by Night from 1948? I have. I saw it a few years ago. I have it. It's in the Criterion Collection. That's another noir title that I would recommend as well. I haven't seen it in a long time. I need to revisit that title. But They Live by Night is also a very good one. Thanks for the recommendation for that one and reminder of that one. Archie says, saw the Del Toro version of Nightmare Alley in theaters. I enjoyed it. I saw the black and white version. That version has not been released on physical media. Heard Criterion will release the black and white version later. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. And then I haven't seen Nightcrawler yet, says Archie. I need to check it out. In a Lonely Place is an emotionally draining film. Brilliant. Yes, it is. It's absolutely brilliant. You know, it's the type of film that will leave you. You will definitely have a lot to think about after seeing In a Lonely Place. Let's see. Ethan says, I think Treasure of the Sierra Madre is Bogart's best performance. I have not seen that. I need to see that movie. I have not seen that yet. So yeah, I need to check out Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Let's see. Iria says, hey there. Hello there. I actually watched this movie quite recently. Haha. Yeah. Wonderful. They Drive by Night is also great. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. Little known fact about In a Lonely Place. I mentioned Gloria Grahame, who plays Laurel, the love interest of Humphrey Bogart's Dixon Steele in A Lonely Place. And I mentioned the director, Nicholas Ray. Well, interestingly enough, Gloria Grahame, at the time that this film was made, was married to director Nicholas Ray. And they were actually in the process of, splitting, getting a divorce, due to, I think, perhaps some infidelity or what have you. But they were in the process of separating while they were making this movie. And of course, that created some challenges, on the set, and some of that unease that you see with Gloria Grahame's character is sort of helped to drive some of that unease in her character, just given the very real personal situation she was dealing with the man giving her direction, the director, Nicholas Ray. She was married to him at the time, and so that is an interesting little known fact about this film, In a Lonely Place. But it's shot very well, it's made very well, and it looks really good on this Criterion Blu-ray, which is a 2K digital restoration, and it looks really good. I mean, that restoration looks very good. They have some very nice detail on this Blu-ray, and it just looks clean. It is a very beautifully presented black and white film from 1950. And I recommend In a Lonely Place very, very highly. So let me go back out here and let me present my screen again so that you can see my presentation. So that is In a Lonely Place, which now brings us to this second film that we wanted to talk about and feature here. And that is this film from 2014 that I truly think might be the best film to come out in 2014. Might be the best film that came out in 2014. I don't even think it was nominated for Best Picture. It did not receive a Best Picture nomination. I think it should have. It did not, but I think it was one of the best films made in the year 2014. That is Nightcrawler, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Rene Russo, also Riz Ahmed is in this film, and directed by director Dan Gilroy. These are the same, it says here, from the producer of Michael Clayton, which is a title that I highly recommend. This is a wonderful film. This is a film that I would love to see get. Is this available on 4K? I don't know, but this is a wonderful film starring George Clooney. This movie is great. George Clooney is a fixer, and this is just a great film. I really enjoy this film. It has George Clooney, Tom Wilkinson, Tilda Swinton, and Sidney Pollack. It is a gripping thriller. It certainly is. It is fantastic. Michael Clayton. But yeah, we're talking about Nightcrawler, the Dan Gilroy film from 2014, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo. So this film really centers on Lou Bloom, who Jake Gyllenhaal plays Lou Bloom. He is an ambitious but basically morally bankrupt man who enters the world of crime journalism. He gets his simple camera, he captures things on the streets and sells that footage to news stations, principally the news station that is run by Rene Russo here, one of the producers in that station. They form a connection. He begins selling footage to her station, and they have a relationship. He captures grisly footage of accidents and crimes and sells to local news stations. His pursuit of success and the relentless nature of his pursuit really leads him to increasingly unethical behavior and dangerous behavior. So that is really the essence of Nightcrawler. It deals with modern cynicism, anti-hero protagonist, which is Jake Gyllenhaal. He's not really a good guy, but he's not, well, he might be totally evil, but there's some decency in him, but not much. He's basically an anti-hero. He's a very complex anti-hero protagonist. And you're dealing with, urban alienation set in a very cold and sprawling Los Angeles. And it just has a very strong GTA 5 vibe to it in the way that Los Angeles is portrayed in this film, very similar to in that very sprawling video game. So the film portrays the city as both a land of opportunity and moral decay. all at the same time in this sprawling metropolis. And it is visually stunning. That's why I want to see this film on 4K. I want this to be on 4K. This is my second prediction. I predicted Sunset Boulevard getting a 4K in 2025, and I also predict Nightcrawler 4K 2025. Don't know if it'll be a Criterion. I'm predicting it'll be a studio release on 4K, and I am here for it. It is a brilliant film. It needs a 4K release, and I think those nighttime visuals of LA, getting that HDR and that Dolby Vision treatment and seeing that native 4K presentation is going to be an eye-popping experience. So I'm really looking forward to checking that out. But you see here actors Jake Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo and director Dan Gilroy here. This is a really fantastic film. I'll read the back of this case here. It says, unpredictable thriller. Nightcrawler is a pulse-pounding thriller set in the nocturnal underbelly of contemporary Los Angeles. Jake Gyllenhaal stars as Lou Bloom, a driven young man desperate for work who discovers the high-speed world of LA crime. Finding a group of freelance camera crews who film crashes, fires, murder, and other mayhem, Lou muscles into the cutthroat, dangerous realm of night crawling, where each police siren wail equals a possible windfall and victims are converted into dollars. Aided by Nina, Rene Russo, a veteran of the blood sport that is local TV news, Lou blurs the line between observer and participant to become the star of his own story. This film also includes Bill Pullman in this film as well, the late, great Bill Pullman. So did I get that right? Yeah. So what an incredible film. Nightcrawler, Jake Gyllenhaal, Rene Russo. Actually, hold on. Let me read this real quick. Bill Paxton. I knew that wasn't right. Bill Paxton on here. Okay, yeah, Bill Paxton. Had to correct myself on that. But yeah, great film. So you see here this alternate poster. This is where the city shines brightest at night. The visuals are stunning in this film. And, you know, Lou Bloom, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, is a very powerful character. And you just pay attention to everything he's doing on screen. And you really begin to question, what kind of man is this? You know, and you really see his moral bankruptcy on full display in this movie. Yeah. So that is the trailer for Nightcrawler. That is really something else. That, if that doesn't pull you in, I don't know what will. It is one of the best films, if not the best film that came out in 2014. It is an absolutely stunning film. Jake Gyllenhaal's performance is just incredible. His performance as Lou Bloom, this morally corrupt, morally bereft individual, willing to do whatever it takes and not really caring who gets in his way or what he has to do to obtain, you know, money and influence in this industry that he's trying to get into. It's a really fascinating story that I highly recommend checking it out. Let's see. We have Nightcrawler is a really amazing movie, such a simple story, yet so thrilling and really keeps you hooked. Jake Gyllenhaal always delivers with his performances. Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal is fantastic actor. Really good stuff. He's also very good with Hugh Jackman in the Denis Villeneuve film Prisoners. He's really good in that. But yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal's a very gifted performer. Jason says, Detour from 1945 as most sinister femme fatale played by Anne Savage. Yes. And like tonight, I'm doing Nightcrawler in an Lonely Place. I believe 2 years ago, I did Detour and I believe Thief. I did those two together, where Detour was the classic noir title, and I did Thief as the modern noir title. Check that out on this channel, where I talked about Detour and Thief. That is a fantastic film as well. Detour, that I highly recommend in Criterion. Check it out. I think there's a story behind the restoration in that film even being available to us and basically what they did to rescue it. See, Nightcrawler had me at Rene Russo is in it. Yes, she's good. She's good in it. Curious to see if you've watched another classic from Gyllenhaal, Donnie Darko. I have not. I have up on this shelf up here, I have the Arrow 4K that I picked up months ago that I need to watch, along with Carlito's Way and Ringu and several other Arrow titles I have that are unwatched. But yeah, I need to watch Donnie Darko. I've heard good things about that. Wouldn't call it the greatest movie ever made, but it's one of my all-time favorites for sure. Okay, cool. Let's see. Sid says a video essay on Nightcrawler says it's a success story where the main character starts off jobless and ends with a thriving small business. Yeah. Let's see. Sid says it also shows why local news is so bad. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it gives you insight into that industry, similar to how In a Lonely Place gives you insight into the screenwriting aspect of Hollywood. This movie, Nightcrawler, gives you an insight into how television news is brought together and how people who contribute to these stories, how they are, part of that whole mix. So very interesting stuff there. But yeah, these are the two films that we talked about this evening that I highly recommend checking out. They are, films that are 64 years apart, but yet they have some similarities that I will just share in terms of isolation and alienation. Both of these films focused on, they focus on protagonists who are outsiders, whether it's, Mr. Dixon from In a Lonely Place to Lou Bloom here in Nightcrawler. They're struggling to connect with others in meaningful ways. Both of these stories take place in LA. Dixon's anger isolates him, while Lou's ambition drives him to manipulate rather than bond. You also have moral ambiguity between Dixon and Lou. They're both morally complex characters whose actions blur the lines between right and wrong. They both are prone to violence. You also have a critique of society, where In a Lonely Place critiques the superficiality and the cynicism of Hollywood, while Nightcrawler examines the cutthroat, exploitative nature of modern media. And then fatal relationships. Both films depict relationships as fatal, fragile and ultimately destructive, driven by mistrust and self-interest. So those are some of the common themes between these two films that are 64 years apart, different directors, different filmmakers, different actors, different stories altogether. But there's some common themes that kind of knit these two together. And part of the reason why they make so much sense to talk about together in ways that you might not have thought about. In a Lonely Place, available in the Criterion Collection, highly recommended at the 50% off sale. And Nightcrawler from 2014, one of the best films that come out in 2014. Great performance by Jake Gyllenhaal. And I believe this will get a 4K Ultra HD release in 2025. But yeah, fantastic stuff. Let's see here. Reminds me of To Die For in concept. Yep. I'm ashamed I bought Donnie Darko years ago from Best Buy and still haven't watched it. Don't be ashamed. Just pop it in the player. Check it out. Let's see. Sid, Louis Bloom speaks in business speak. Yeah. Absolutely. He's just a phenomenal character, and I highly recommend checking it out. Now, let us share before I pop off here. I'm going to go to IMDb, and I'm going to share the listing here for Nightcrawler. Of course, it's director Dan Gilroy. He wrote it as well. Jake Gyllenhaal, Rene Russo, Bill Paxton. You also have Riz Ahmed in this film. Just absolutely phenomenal film from Dan Gilroy. These are your cast members. You have the wonderful late, great Bill Paxton. Rene Russo is fantastic. Riz Ahmed is a really good supporting character in this film. This whole cast, I think, did a really good job. You had the news anchors. I think they were really good. A very nice, authentic, behind-the-scenes look at the production process in these news outfits. So really appreciated seeing that perspective. But yeah, this is a phenomenal film from Dan Gilroy. And then I will go back here and I will share. Whoops. Don't want to share that. Let's see here. I'm going to share my screen again for In a Lonely Place. So let's go to In a Lonely Place. You see the movie poster. You see the trailer here. This is Nicholas Ray. It says here, a potentially violent screenwriter is a murder suspect until his lovely neighbor clears him. However, she soon starts to have her doubts. She's wondering, I thought he was innocent at first, but could he have done this? So I think that's fascinating. You have Nicholas Ray, the director, writers Andrew Salt, Edmund H. North, and Dorothy B. Hughes. Humphrey Bogart, Gloria Grahame, and Frank Lovejoy star in this film. Fantastic movie all the way around from classic Hollywood. Frank Lovejoy played Detective Brub Nikolai. He was the detective who was friends with Dixon Steele from their Army days. You have Art Smith, who played Mel Lipman, who played the agent for screenwriter Dixon Steele. You have just wonderful actors here. You have Martha Stewart, who played Mildred Atkinson, the young lady who was killed, who was the murdered victim. Of course, this Martha Stewart is not the same Martha Stewart, not Martha Stewart living. This is a different Martha Stewart. So just a fantastic cast. They did a great job in this incredible movie, In a Lonely Place. So let me capture your last comments here, and then we'll put a wrap on it. Let's see here. See, Louis Bloom speaks in business speak. I already read that. Archie Cinema is really quite interesting. 100% recommend it. Fantastic. But yeah, so film noir. I hope that you have a greater appreciation for the noir genre, having watched this in terms of what types of films, meet that criteria. What is film noir? We talked about that. We talked about several titles that sort of fit into that vein of noir films. I will bring them up here again. These are some titles that are highly recommended across the board to join anyone's library. Double Indemnity on 4K is an absolute no-brainer from Criterion. This new 4K of Touch of Evil that came out last year is also tremendous. Maltese Falcon, same thing. Sunset Boulevard, I believe, will get a 4K release in 2025 from somebody. Would love for it to be Criterion, but we shall see. And then, of course, definitely look for a review on this channel very soon for this release here, Funny Girl, starring Barbara Streisand on 4K Ultra HD. Really looking forward to sharing thoughts on this title, and I look forward to sharing thoughts on this new BFI 4K of Seven Samurai very, very soon. How does it compare to the Criterion Blu-ray? Is this a good 4K picture? I look forward to sharing thoughts on that very soon on this channel. Of course, also, toward the end of next week, a week from today, we will know the Arrow Video February 2025 title. So I plan to do a live stream, as I do every month, for the Arrow Video titles, reacting to those February 2025 releases on Black Friday. But yeah, so let me know in the comments section below, what do you think of this live stream? Let me know what you think of what we've covered in terms of these two amazing films, In a Lonely Place and Nightcrawler. Let me know what your thoughts are on these films and really on this live stream in general. Did you find this beneficial? Did you learn anything about film noir? Did you learn some recommendations on film noir? Is this a genre that is of interest to you? And if so, let us know what makes you interested and what are some of your favorite films in that space. Let me know all that in the comments section below. I really do appreciate you all joining tonight who was able to join, and I appreciate you watching this on replay. Give me a like and let me know in the comment section what you think about this live stream and what you think about these noir titles and all things film noir. Have a happy remainder of Noirvember. Keep enjoying everything that you're doing, and we'll look to see you next time at the movies. Peace. Good night, everybody.